Hi everybody, welcome back. This is Dee Burks. The name of my channel is Retirement Rescue. One of the things I promised you in the last video, or maybe the one before that, anyway, relatively recently, is the idea that I was going to be changing some of the content on the channel. And I'm not really changing it so much as I am adding to it and rethinking the focus of it. So let's talk about that. Okay, when I initially started this channel 5 years ago, it has been 5 years come February that I launched this channel, which is just mind-boggling. But 5 years since I started this channel. I was in my early 50s, and I was really trying to figure out, like many people, Gen Xers basically, the very young boomers, the older Gen Xers. Okay, what about retirement? How are we going to figure out retirement? For those of you who are my age, or maybe you even have parents my age, whatever, there's a lot of younger people who watch this channel, which is great, because this is going to be you soon, right? For us, many of us have gone through recessions before. But the 08-09 recession that all of us went through when we were in our early 40s, mid 40s, depending on what age you are, that really devastated a lot of what some of us had saved for retirement. We had to pull it out to survive. That was a lot of people. Even though those who kept their retirement accounts, and I just talked to my sister about that, even those who kept retirement accounts were able to sustain their job. They didn't have businesses go under. They didn't have, they weren't involved as much in everything that went on in that recession. They still lost half of their retirement money. Many of them did. And that your early 40s is when you're just kind of really starting to get rolling with saving for retirement. Well, that kind of went in the dumper, and it put everybody behind. And for a lot of us, we never really recovered in the retirement sense from that devastating loss. And here we are 15, 18 years later, and now retirement's right here in the window. And I know some of you are a little older than me, some of you are younger than me, but we're all thinking about this. And one of the things that's interesting is that I think a lot of people these days who are thinking about retirement, they realize there's not going to be one source of retirement funds. There isn't even now for a lot of people who are retired. Social Security isn't enough to live on for most people at all, but it's part of it for those who are retiring in the next 10 years or so. We're not going to talk about, 30 years from now. I have no clue what's going to happen. I just feel hopefully somewhat sound to say in the next 10 years. But that's just a piece. It's just a piece, okay? There are a lot of people my age who do not, the cats are getting the zoomies now. I don't know what it is about me turning on this camera, but these cats just go berserk. So forgive the noise and the vibrations. Anyway, but a lot of people my age also do not have large retirement accounts. Part of it was from being devastated during that recession. Part of it may be from having to switch jobs. Many of us held several jobs, whereas the people in the generation before us, a lot of them, they'd stay 20 years at a job or 30 years at a job. Seriously. But it's really Gen X where that really stopped being the case for a lot of us. There was no one job you stayed in and kept where you could build a retirement, or where you earned enough money to build a retirement. That's a thing too. So even if those who have a retirement account, it may be very small, or certainly not enough to sustain you in retirement. It's also true that a lot of us feel and are very young. We have great skill sets. All of us grew up with, computers in high school. I mean, this whole idea that we're too old to know social media, that's what I do for a living, y'all. I do social media. But it's kind of silly. Even I know a lot of boomers who are excellent computer wizards. But so we will have those skills to bring forward to take us into retirement, either on a part-time basis. Even those people who don't have that particular skill set, we've all worked enough. We've worked enough jobs where we could get a job. We could do something to sustain ourselves. I don't care if it's bagging groceries at a grocery store. We can all find work on some level for the most part. Not everybody. I know there's special circumstances. I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking about me and people similar to me. But retirement, as we have been led to believe, is going to be very different for us. It's going to be this mix and this hodgepodge of us putting together financially what is going to sustain us over the next probably 30 years, 25, 30 years, easy for those of us my age. And then figuring out, okay, given those parameters, how do you want to live? And when I started this channel, it was all about figuring out how to get to retirement and how retirement's going to be and how to transition into retirement. But now I think my idea is, okay, but how are you going to live in retirement? What do you really want? How do you want to be? And I've thought about this a lot, especially over this last year or so. How do I really want my life to be? Well, first and foremost, I want my life to be peaceful. I want a nice, quiet life. I mean, I don't want to be rich, but I don't want to be poor either. I want to have enough. I want to be happy and satisfied with what I have. It's really hard to transition mentally from this grow, 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 and earn into I have enough. But I think a lot of us are making that transition. When is it enough? And more isn't better, it's just more. So planning some sort of retirement where it's enough and you feel comfortable and you live the way you want to live and you do the things you want to do, that becomes part of your planning process too. I think really for a long time I've always dreamed of, because I'm a farm girl originally, right? Of having a farm and a big garden, and I've had those before. Being able to raise my own meat and raise my own veg, and I've done bits and pieces of that before. But now I'm by myself, and I'm looking at retirement. So what makes sense? I am really, especially after my brother going through his brain cancer, seeing the complications caused by his diabetes, that's what kicked off my desire to go ahead and really get rid of some weight. Was you realize, okay, how some sort of chronic illness can complicate everything. And looking at retirement, that's one of the biggest expenses people have is illness. So I want to live as healthy as I can. I mean, within reason. I still like what I like, but I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to choose better. So I want to be raising my own food as much as I can. It's going to be limited. But anyway, I was thinking about all these ideas and what does that mean? And here's what I've decided. What that means is hopefully the house I'm in is my forever house. I love this little house. It's kind of right in the middle of town. It's on a relatively small lot, but it's in a very old part of town. So it's nice, it's quiet, it's nothing fancy, but it's more than adequate for what I need. So in that respect, it's great. The land area is very small. So when I moved in here 2 years ago, one of the first things you do if you're wanting to start some sort of sustainable food process on your property is to assess the property and say, okay, what makes sense? The first thing I wanted to plant was fruit trees because they take the longest to start producing. Well, I chose like dwarf varieties. So everything I was doing back then, not even realizing I was going to go this direction, was on a micro scale. So the big thing I am going to be adding to this channel is how to live sustainably, a calm, peaceful, happy, sustainable life in a kind of homesteady environment, but on a very micro level, on a very, very micro level. I'm one person. I don't want a lot of big equipment that I have to run. I don't want a big property I have to take care of. I don't want big animals that I have to wrangle and manhandle and that need trailers and this. No. I want everything small. I want everything as much as I can do, but with the convenience of living in town. That's the reality of it. I don't want to live this life where you've got to be all or nothing, where you got to be 100% granola crunchy to even, call yourself a sustainable. That's crap. I don't even care. I don't even care what other people are. I don't care what anyone else is doing. A lot of this thought process had to do with what I want to do and how I want to live and what I'm okay with. I'm okay with a lot of things they wouldn't be okay with, and I don't care. I don't care. The homestead community is probably going to have all kinds of things to say about me. I don't care. I care about how I live and what I'm going to get out of it. And so there are several things I'm going to be adding. You all know from recent videos, I'm putting together some raised beds. That's going to be the start of my gardening. This year I planted hopefully the last, or close to the last, of the fruit trees, but I also planted a lot of berries, a lot of perennial berries, raspberries, blackberries, edible table grapes, those sorts of things, strawberries. And so that was really kind of my next thing in my thought process was perennial berries. I love berries, and a garden. Now, my garden's not huge. I do love to can. If there's things I want to can, I can go get it at the farmer's market. There are a lot of homesteaders and farmers around here that I can buy it from in bulk. Happy with that. I don't need to grow everything. I don't need to do all the things, but I want to do enough to make myself happy, but yet it be sustainable for me, one person. So that's kind of where I'm headed. I'm going to be adding, because this is one of the big questions I had, because I really want to grow my own meat. That is super problematic if you live in an urban setting. Thankfully, where I live, there are not a lot of HOAs, because, one thing about Texans is they will tell you to F off with no problem. HOAs just really aren't a cool thing where I live. It's just not. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. However, there are ordinances, there are things you can and can't do, especially in town. And those are designed so everybody's somewhat a good neighbor. Now, one of those ordinances is you have to have at least 1/4 of an acre lot to have 4 chickens, and you can have no roosters. Which for me, that means chickens are out. I'm kind of okay with that. Chickens are a pain in the butt. They can get really nasty on occasion. Meat birds are super nasty. But I'm looking at raising my own meat, my own eggs, that sort of thing. And I'm like, I don't want to do chickens. I really don't want to do chickens. It would be problematic, and especially because I have some rotten neighbors near me. That would be problematic. So no, that's a no. So in going through and thinking about things, I've decided I want to add meat rabbits. My sister grew out rabbits when we were in high school. In 4-H, she raised rabbits, I raised pigs, my brother did lambs and steers. Typical for a rural area is the kids in the family, they all do different animals, right? So I was familiar with rabbits, even though I didn't really raise them, she did. And so I decided, okay, that's something that I think would be easy and something that would make me a good neighbor. I have 2 buildings in the back of my yard. Y'all have seen them before from previous videos. But one of those buildings is an 11, I think it's 11 by 20 or 10 by 20. Anyway, it's a good sized building, about 200 square feet. It's completely empty. It's been empty since I moved in. There's just nothing in it. No reason, really. There's just nothing in it. I don't have anything to put in it. So I'm going to use that building to raise these animals. They can be housed indoors easily, and I want them to be housed indoors. You think there aren't predators in town, but let me tell you what, the feral cat population is, whoo, there's a lot of them. So I'll be raising the rabbits indoors. I also decided that I want to raise Coturnix quail. These are jumbo quail. I'm familiar with quail. Quail are actually native to Texas, so I've had quail a lot, but I want to raise them both for eggs and for meat. So I will have a source of protein that is rabbit and a source of protein that is bird, quail. And those are great sources of protein. That does not mean I'll raise all the meat that I eat. I'll raise a part of it. But here locally, I can buy locally raised, high quality organic beef at a good price here at Rancher Storefront. I can also buy locally raised, super delicious, because I just had some last night, pork. And so I do not need to raise those animals. I can support other people who are doing great things and raising great animals and putting out great product. I can support them while raising the rabbits and the birds. So those are the things I'm going to add. It's probably going to take me over the course of the next 1.5 to 2 years to get those things up and running. I'm not in any hurry. But there's a reason I kind of like that timeline. One of the things that I discovered somewhat recently is technically, as many of you know, I am a widow. A number of years ago, 2017, the man I was married to, we were living in different states at the time, but before we were divorced, he died just suddenly. And so technically I'm a widow. And I realized, or found out actually, a friend told me that at 60, if you are a widow, you can get up to 71% of your partner's Social Security at 60. At 60. And I'm like, huh. Because if I did that, I could get 71% of his up until my retirement age per Social Security is 67. At 67, I could switch over to mine and get the full amount of mine. So currently, that's kind of the plan. So I'm trying to get the homesteading portion of my living up and going over the next year, 1.5 years. I'll be on Social Security at that time, hopefully. So for at least part of my retirement. I'm sure I will still be working, at least part-time, but I will be able to scale that back and only work part-time. Even working part-time, the business will still earn plenty of money. So I'll have to be careful about that with Social Security for 7 years because there's a income cap. But there are a lot of different kinds of income that aren't included in that. I'll do a whole nother video on that and explain it. But there are a lot of kinds of income that aren't included, so I'll be good with that. But anyway, I'm wanting to get everything kind of in place over the next 2 years, so when that happens, I will have things up and running. I will be able to scale back to part-time. I will be able to receive that portion of the start of my retirement, and I'll be able to go from there living the way I want to live. But we're going to see how it goes. It may or may not actually work out that way, but we're going to give it a whirl. I'm also still going to be playing poker. I'm still going to be doing things that I love to do. I'm sure I'll be traveling some, not a lot. I did a great deal of travel between the ages of 40 and 50. Lots of cruises, international travel, blah, blah, blah. I also traveled a lot during that time for work. And let me tell you what, when you're traveling for work, you kind of get sick of it. I know there are people who are like, oh, I just dream of traveling. And it is great. But if you've done it a lot, you realize, it's great and all, but it's not the end all be all. There's minuses to it as well. And I can do a lot of domestic travel and see my kids, and that's really what is becoming more important to me now, as opposed to just seeing the world. Yeah, whatever. World will still be there. I can see it anytime. But, I want to be able to go and do those things. So that's going to be part of it too. But anyway, this is just a quick update on where I see this channel going. It's like as my life evolves, this channel will evolve. And hopefully there are some of you that are interested in that evolution and things that maybe you can apply to your life. I do want to bring a caveat. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. It may not be what you are going to do or what you can do or what you want to do. That's fine. I'm just going to share with you kind of what I'm doing. There are 1,000 paths up the mountain. 1,000. You can get to where you want to be in retirement in any one of those ways. So I'm just going to be showing you a little bit of what I'm doing and giving you a little peek into that. And so the plan for the next 2 years is for the channel to go that direction. Next time I'm going to be giving you a little tour of the building that I'm going to put the rabbits and quail in. It's going to need a little bit of construction work on it and this, that, and the other before I can do that. And I'm going to spend the summer building cages and doing all of the prep work for those animals. But I'll bring you along on that as well. hopefully I will see you next time.